Men are not good at leading. Men are good at exploiting. What men don't want us to realize is that behind every great leader is the back of another person or group of people that they had to step on in order to be in leadership. This is the reason why we have a group of people saying that we should have a level of empathy for a person who is exploiting hatred as a talking point in order to be a leader of a movement that clearly talked about marginalized people in the furthering of their oppression. We live in a patriarchal society where men get to be career criminals and they get a slap on the wrist for doing so. If there's a success story when it comes to a man who used to be a drug dealer, who used to be a criminal, and he becomes this overnight success through starting a business or creating some type of opportunity for people, he is seen as a savior. However, if a woman goes into some type of sex work and she allows herself financial freedom to where the point she could take care of her family, to where she could start some type of, I don't know, nonprofit organization, she is seen as someone sleeping her way to the top. We live in a society where leadership and woman cannot be in the same sentence. And because of that, we've been taught to believe that men are the leaders. Yeah, men are the leaders because they exploit every single thing possible in order to be in leadership. Men constantly want to remind women of the contributions that men have made in order for us to have the things that we have. I am recording this video on a phone, and so a lot of men will say, well, a man was who created that phone. No, the idea of a phone came from a man. In order for that idea to come into fruition, he had to exploit people to do that. This lovely iPhone has cobalt in it that is mined from the Congo, and several thousands of people lose their lives mining cobalt. The people that construct this phone together in other countries is usually young children that are doing that. That is the exploitation of other people so that you can be deemed as a leader. There is not a single form of leadership that men have that is not based on the oppression of others. And I wouldn't call that a leader. I would call that somebody who is good at exploiting, because that is the whole purpose of patriarchy, to keep you in the dark about what they're doing on the back end of things and just relishing in the accomplishments. And at the end of the day, not even average men care about being exploited, because as long as they get to piggyback off of the success of successful men just because it's a man, men are happy to be exploited by a man that is more successful than them until that man reaps the benefits that that same man promised them, which is why we are in a male loneliness epidemic. Men are upset because the top 1% men that they complain about promised them a wife based off of their mediocrity, when in reality that 1% of men is just exploiting the fact that these are just average men. They played them to have them go into the workforce long enough to make them believe, oh, well, as long as I have a job, I am going to get a wife, when in reality, they're being exploited. The echo chamber of the pill community, that is a form of exploitation. Men are not great leaders. They simply take people who are impoverished, people who are ignorant, people who are criminals, all types of marginalized groups, all types of people that are suffering in some way. They take these groups of people, promise them something, and they don't deliver on their promise. They just give them a step up from the circumstance that they have, and that is what we call leadership today. When these groups wake up to being exploited, they get pissed off, which is why they always want to keep this exploitation hidden. No one, especially a man, is going to sit here and give you the history of women's rights, which is why it's called his story, never her story, because her story would piss you off. Her story would have you in a rage. And this goes for all other forms of oppressed groups. There's a little smidgen of the truth that they're going to give you to make you seem and make you believe that they've given you something, when in reality they haven't given you something. It's really the same as a person who has stolen from you and then helped you find it. They didn't do you any favor. They literally took something from you and then made it seem as if they were doing you a favor under the guise of hiding the truth from you. Ladies, please, people that are any part of any oppressed group, please understand the leaders that you see in front of you are nothing but career criminals. They're liars, they're schemers, they're exploiters. It's really that simple. No one is ever going to have a level of empathy for people who have simply exploited people or have had polarizing opinions on things to further exploit in order to have some type of gain of their own.